forward to this computer. Awesome. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the final reset. I know you guys have been seeing this all over the internet, all over Instagram, and you're probably like, what does this mean? I know that over 30 people signed up for this, so hopefully we'll be getting out a lot of replays and that you guys can find just as much value after the fact as if you were here. So that's my goal for tonight. And I will go ahead and start sharing my screen here so that you guys have visuals to go along with everything. So we're going to do present. I'm going to present. Got it. That's great. Now I'm going to share my screen. This one. Boom. All right. Cool. It looks like we're sharing screen here, and I have you guys really, really tiny in the corner. Good. Okay, Erin said she can see it, or Rachel said she can see it. I can't tell. Mute. I'm not the queen of Zoom, so I apologize for anything that gets weird. But as long as you guys can see that screen, the final reset, then we're good to go. All right. Cool. So here we go. Why are you here? Mainly because, January 1st is coming, whether we want it or not. I think that most of us are kind of over 2025, to be quite honest. So maybe we do want it. Maybe we are really excited. But most women and most people really feel a lot of pressure at the first of the year to fix everything. And there's like all of this resolution culture, and I've got to really hit the ground running, make 2026 the best possible. And I wanted to kind of flip that on its head for as many women as I can really shout from a mountaintop to that we don't have to change everything all at once. In fact, this can be a detrimental strategy. So this class is not actually about doing more or doing everything at once in like one blitz on January 1st. It's actually about thinking differently, thinking about your health differently, thinking about your approach to a sustainable model of health and overall fitness moving into your future. So today is not about changing the way you approach your health. It's not about piling on another plan, right? It's about sustainability and how we can do that. So get this small here and get situated. Most January resets fail because they're built around motivation instead of capacity. So my goal tonight is to give you some strategies that build on each other to make your capacity larger and make any changes that you're able to accomplish in the year of 2026, something that will last beyond just this year. Okay, so boom, here we go. What you're going to walk away with: a new way to think about health span and longevity, clarity on why past approaches haven't stuck or you haven't been able to continue these habits for longer than a certain amount of time, and a framework that you can apply immediately. Okay. This that we're going over today, this is perspective first, and execution is going to come later. So sit back. If you want to grab a pen and paper, go for it. There's going to be a lot of information flying at you guys very, very quickly here. If you leave with nothing else, you're going to leave knowing why what you've tried before stopped working and what actually matters now moving forward. Okay. So this is going to be broken into 3 lessons, and they're going to be building on top of each other. But first, I want to talk about, hey, why do I do this and why am I qualified to talk about this? Just so you guys know, I'm not just some, internet influencer out of left field. I'm actually a precision medicine trained physician assistant. I'm a coach by choice. I'm a physician assistant by trade. I work with women, specifically over 35, navigating energy, issues, navigating weight management strategies, navigating stress, and specifically, I put longevity here, but a concept called health span, which we're going to actually define in one of the later lessons. Okay. So my whole goal in life is to bridge the gap between medicine, fitness, and real life, right? Because all of these things can exist conceptually, or you can read them out of the book, or you can like read a bunch of studies about it, or you can go to your doctor. But how do you piece all of these things together and fit them into your actual life for the best strategy for you as an individual, right? I've seen firsthand what reactive care from a primary care model. We're here in the United States. I'm here in the United States. I know that there are people probably here from different countries, but I worked in primary care in the civilian sector here, as well as primary care and trauma combat care when I was in the military as a physician assistant. So I've seen reactive care firsthand, right? Trauma is reactive care, and I'm very glad that we have reactive care in the form of trauma management and crisis reduction here, like because we are saving lives in that capacity, right? But when it comes to chronic disease, and like weight management, then reactive care is not always the best. And I've seen especially what happens to women when they come into that primary care system or specialty care system. And I've seen them be dismissed, or I've seen their issues be oversimplified. And it bothered me so much that I actually formed my own company. And this is what I do now, because I want to see as many women as possible thrive and to be set up for success earlier on in life before they're sick, or to reverse some of these chronic issues that they're getting, like in their 40s, 50s, 60s, so that they can live a longer, healthier life and really enjoy it. So that's a little bit about me. My role here in this capacity is to consult and guide, not to necessarily diagnose or treat. I'm not diagnosing or treating here. I'm actually just helping women make informed long-term decisions and giving them the tools they need and the lifestyle habits that they need to actually reverse some of these disease processes and or prevent them in the first place. The goal is to put these processes as like heart disease, diabetes, all of these things off as long as humanly possible, and come to find out we can do that with healthy lifestyle modifications and choices earlier on in life, in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and even in our 60s. It is never too late to start doing some of this stuff. Okay, so the roadmap. Like I said, these lessons, we're going to go over 3 lessons. They're going to follow the same arc that every woman goes through: effort, frustration, and then either burnout or evolution. So the first lesson we're going to talk about is stop playing the short game. Why many healthy habits fail long term, and how to train for durability instead of burnout. And then the second lesson is going to be data over drama, how clarity and personalization replace guesswork, extremes, and willpower. We really want to have a different mindset about this stuff and a way to continue to do it over and over again sustainably. And then lastly, we're going to help you build a life that your health can sustain. Why longevity requires alignment between your body, your habits, and your life. So let's jump into the very first lesson. And it's stop playing the short game. Why most healthy women are accidentally training for decline. Yikes. And I see this so many times over and over again. The short game always rewards compliance early and punishes you later, right? This is why so many women come to me and they're like, Stevie, what I used to do in my 20s, in my early 30s, it doesn't work for me anymore, right? It's because it was a short-term game plan. A lot of examples here are like doing endless cardio. Like, right, cardio is going to reward you right away. You might see fast weight loss. You might know people who lost 50 or 60 pounds in a super short period of time, only to gain it all back and more in the years to come after that, because they did it so fast and it was not done in a sustainable way. So that is what I'm talking about when I talk about the short game. It is going to reward early compliance, but punish you later. So we want to reframe our minds and we want to stop playing the short game so that we can play the long game, because that's where it's at. All right. So a lot of women, you guys are doing so much. Some of you have multiple jobs. Some of you have very demanding jobs, long commutes. Some of you have kids, grandkids. You're juggling a ton, right? You are not doing too little. There's not a problem with you not doing enough. So the problem is we're just optimizing for the wrong timeline. Okay. Fatigue, stubborn weight, poor recovery, these things that so many of you are experiencing, they're not mysteries. They are actually predictable outcomes of a mismatch between stress and support. Okay. So many of these habits that you're using that used to work or worked when you were younger or when life was simpler, they're no longer working anymore as estrogen declines, as recovery capacity declines, as life stresses get more and more and more. Some of you are in that like generation where you have kids still at home and you're taking care of aging parents, right? That is a lot of stress. So your stress levels are just changing. The margin for error in this time of your life shrinks. In most health strategies, are simply too much stress for your bodies. So we need to adjust. We must adjust fire. So what once might have felt disciplined to you can actually quietly become draining, rigid, and unsustainable. And I hear this when I talk to people in messages and when I work with my clients over and over again. So we need a big shift here. And this is the big shifts we need to make, okay? From weight loss, from like our full focus on weight loss as quickly as possible to long-term weight management strategies over the course of a longer period of time. From urgency to actually building durability, and from random effort to pinpointed intentional planning and health span, okay? I am not here to encourage you to build a house of cards that blows away within 6 months of you discontinuing a completely unsustainable effort. I am here to help you build a house of steel that can withstand the fire of the decades. Okay, my grandpa was telling us this story actually just like yesterday. And he had a friend he was telling us about that was in his 90s, and he would buy a season ski pass every single year. And my grandpa said, he said, I always thought buying a whole season pass was pretty optimistic. We are all laughing. But my goal for you is legitimately to be pretty optimistic in your 80s and 90s. And I'm here to help as many women as possible do just that. All right, so why common strategies backfire? Here's some common strategies that you might be participating in yourself. And these are cardio only training. This builds endurance, but not the muscle strength or metabolic resilience women need to feel strong, supported, and functional long term. Chronic undereating. This drives short-term weight loss while quietly draining energy, recovery, and the body's ability to sustain progress, right? Cardio is depleting you. It's taking something from you every time you're doing it. So it's burning calories, right? It's costing your body something. So if that's all we're doing, and then we're not repleting it with chronic undereating, then we're just putting our bodies into these negative stress feedback loops. And it could be two reasons why you are stuck. Usually, these two in a lot of women coexist together as well as these other two. Chasing fast weight loss. We've talked about that one a little bit. So, prioritizing speed over stability often leads to rebound weight gain, fatigue, and a body that resists change instead of adapting. Okay, so we want a slower weight loss over time, and that's going to make it like so much more sustainable and something that you're going to be able to maintain long term. And then this last one's a biggie, right? Stress worn like a badge of honor. I've seen women in my life, and I've even fallen victim to this, doing this over and over again, being like, "Well, I did this much, and then I slept for 4 hours," right? And it's just like juggling all of those things that we talked about earlier, all at the same time, and just being like, "This is my lot in life," right? But this keeps the nervous system stuck in survival mode, making recovery, fat loss, and overall well-being harder, so much harder and not easier. And all of these strategies have one thing in common. They take from your system faster than they give back. And believe me, the bill is always going to come due later, and it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. So, what is the next question we need to ask ourselves? What are you training for? Right? Most women aren't training with a clear goal. They're just following scripts about how women should exercise and should eat. And most women don't sit down and just decide what they want from training or from nutrition. They inherit scripts of diet culture, gym culture, or an in group that they are part of. And they just follow these things because it is something they understand. It's not unknown, right? Some of these are those quick fixes, pushing harder or eating less for fast relief, then paying for it with fatigue and stalls and plateaus. Aesthetics first goals, training to look different, not to feel or function better. And there's nothing wrong with aesthetic first goals, not by any means, but oh, good. I did get a win from Aaron. I just noticed that. I love this. A win for me would be that the holiday plans went well and I finally bought that treadmill I've been waiting for a while now. Heck yeah. I love that, Aaron. Sorry, I just saw that. I'm glad I have the chat box open though, because now I can read these. I love that. I know. I got my walking pad like 6 months ago, and it's like such a lifesaver, such a game changer, man. I love that for you. All right, quick fixes. Yeah, pushing harder, eating less, fatigue, stalls, plateaus, and nothing wrong with aesthetics first goals, right? Like it feels good to look good, and that is totally fine. I do want to push this little pause button here, though, and also say that sometimes when we think of aesthetics first goals, we want this like, super lean, super toned look, washboard abs, like, but that level of lean is unsustainable. And if you ask almost any person who actually looks like that, they probably feel like crap because the deficit that you have to be in, the caloric deficit you have to be in to look like that is so low that their energy levels are tanked. So we need to find a healthy in between, right? Where we are actually having energy for our days and where we're feeling good and where we feel good in our bodies as well, right? Group driven training, nothing wrong with this either, but doing what the group does instead of what your body needs now can be problematic if we're not listening, understanding, or if we don't know what we want. And then stress tolerance, exercising to survive life, not to build a capacity for it. So I talk about this when I see people who are actually overtraining for their stress loads. And I do see this from time to time in certain communities, High Rocks, CrossFit, etc., where people are just like, well, I've just been doing this for so long now that I'm just doing this, but I don't understand why I'm plateaued or why I still don't look like a Greek goddess. Well, it's probably because the life that you're living outside of this training plan that you have is super duper high stress. And the training plan you have is also super duper high stress. And when you combine those things together, your cortisol is through the roof, and it's just going to make it really, really hard for you to get what you actually want because you're not actually taking the action steps that you need to take to get to where you want to be. There's a mismatch there. Okay. So when you are just going with what you have been told or what society is telling you should do for training, for nutrition, these are just borrowed strategies, right? And borrowed strategies eventually stop fitting. So training for longevity starts when you stop borrowing strategies and when you start choosing your own goals and then creating the action steps that actually make sense to get to your goals. Okay. Is all of this making sense to you guys right now? Just like do little reactions, drop some love in the little like reactions box, like thumbs up, fire emojis, something. Love it. Rachel's got you, girl. Thank you. All right. So what are we going to do about this? We're going to audit our health and fitness plan. And this is going to be the end of lesson 1. So this will be your big takeaway from the end of lesson 1. Audit your health and fitness plan. We're going to ask ourselves 3 questions, okay? Number 1, what do I actually want my body and health to give me right now? So we're going to just think short term in this question, okay? What do I actually want my body and health to give me right now? And only you can answer this for yourself, right? So for some people, it might be like, dang, I'm exhausted all the time. I just want to be able to feel like I have the energy to play with my kids at the end of the day. I get that one a lot. It might be, I don't know. What is it for you? If you guys have any good ones, what you want your body and your health to give you right now, feel free to drop them in the chat. Or if you want to keep it private, then just like write them down in your notebooks, or at least write these questions down for yourself so you can answer them later, okay? Number 2 is what I am doing in my nutrition, in my actual life, in my training plan. Is what I'm doing actually moving me towards the answer I just gave to number 1? Is it moving me towards what I want? Or am I just taking the path of least resistance right now? Right? Was like my eating plan or my exercise plan or my life plan? Oof, that's a big one, right? Was this just inherited from someone else? These are really big questions, and we're not gonna be surface level today. So I just want you guys to all know this is gonna get deeper and deeper. And then the last question is, if I stayed on this path, would it still support the life I wanted to be living years from now? And that's a huge one too. Maybe the culminating event at the end of this class. Okay. So like, what do I want 80-year-old Stevie to be able to do? Okay. I want 80-year-old Stevie to be able to lift a 35-pound suitcase over my head to put into an overhead bin so I can keep traveling because I love doing that. Maybe that's something that you want, right? Maybe what you want is different. What do I need to be doing now to be able to continue doing that when I am that age? So this is how we're going to reverse engineer this, okay? So use these 3 filters to audit your health and fitness plan in the next week. Okay. The women who do the best long term, they stop guessing and they start planning. They get a vision and then they work backwards and break it down into small steps that they can start now. And planning requires clarity, which brings us to lesson number 2. Okay. Data over drama. How precision beats willpower every single time. Okay, if lesson 1 was about direction, lesson 2 is going to be about refining that clarity in different ways than just vision, okay? Because it's very hard to choose differently when you don't actually know what's happening in your body and in your life. So oftentimes, it's not a discipline problem. It's a clarity problem, okay? Most women assume fatigue, like resistance to being able to lose weight, or low motivation means that they're failing or that they're lazy or they're not doing enough. But without context, these symptoms that you're experiencing, they feel personal and like character flaws. But willpower gets used as a substitute for understanding. Okay, and what do I mean by that? So when you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna white knuckle through it, I'm okay, I'm just gonna like make this work. It's usually because you're not stepping back to look at what's really going on. Okay. Willpower is what we lean on when the system is misaligned. And lack of information, lack of inspiration, and lack of repletion are the 3 most common misalignments. It's like asking yourself, what do I really want? And what is really going on, underneath the hood? So like I need to get in there and I need to figure out what's going on in there. It's like if you take your car, for example, this is really good imagery. If you just keep driving that thing until it like just falls apart, you're like, okay, my check engine light's on, but like I'm just gonna keep going. It's just gonna be fine, right? You can do that. That is an option. But like, what if you evaluated the issue, you took it to someone to look under there and make like a way or figure out the bottleneck. It's like, what's happening here? What do we need to like fix? What's the real issue so we can make that puppy run smooth again, right? If you could do that as an option, you could definitely drive it better, not only now, but you could keep it running for a lot longer, okay? So that's the goal here is clarity, like what's really going on. Let's figure that out. So how are we going to figure that out in the context that we're talking about here? So you're like, oh, hey, Steve, you said you were like trained in precision medicine, precision health. What does like that actually mean though, right? What does that actually mean? So precision health is it's about context, not obsession. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like tracking your food or like tracking your blood markers on this regular basis is like crazy. This is obsessive, right? No, it's actually just giving you more context to make decisions from. It's not about ignoring single data points. It's about knowing when a single data point is meaningful and when it isn't, right? So we're going to get a bunch of these single data points. Some of these single data points come when you go to the doctor annually, right? You're like, oh my gosh, my blood sugar's high. Or they said like my cholesterol is really high and I need to do something about that. They said I need to do something about that in the next 6 months or I'm going to have to be put on medicine. And then what do they tell you? Just eat better and exercise, right? Super generic. Super duper generic. But we need to know what these data points are, and we need to know what's going on for you personally so that we can pull these individual levers. But first, we need to understand two types of data points before we can start pulling levers in conjunction with data points. Okay. So we have two different types here. One is single data points. These are data points that matter right away. Okay. So if I want to give like, so if your cholesterol is elevated by 2 times what it normally should be, this is a single data point that we need to take action on right away. Not all data points are like that. We also have noise data points, and these are data points that fluctuate naturally. Okay, so let's see here. A sudden, yeah, let's see here. So I have a couple of examples that I wrote down over here. So a lab value that's far outside of expected range. We talked about that. That is a single data point. A sudden unexplained drop in energy or sleep or recovery, or a major change in symptoms. These might be things that should prompt quick action to fix. Okay, but some data points are signals that are going to fluctuate. They're going to change from day to day, regardless of if something is quote unquote wrong or not. Some of these are daily scale weights. Daily scale weights drive me crazy because so many people get hung up on these things, but your body weight, right, can fluctuate from like 3 to 5 pounds from day to day just from natural processes in the body. Another one is like hunger on a single day or one poor night of sleep, one workout that felt off. Reacting to these noise data points alone can create complete chaos and panic. Okay, so with these data points, we actually need to zoom out and look at trends over time. So with all of my clients in my container, we do weekly weight averages as data points and how they are moving over time, or hunger averages over the course of a week. Okay, so the problem necessarily isn't the data, right? Even though sometimes we make the problem the data, or the data points can cause us distress. When really, if we can reframe how we're thinking about these data points, and move from distress to how can I use this to become a better version of myself, that's where the real magic starts to happen. Okay. So healthy tracking isn't about control or obsession. It's about learning what matters and what doesn't. And once you understand which data points are single data points and which are just kind of normal fluctuations or shifts that you need to monitor trends over time, you can stop personalizing every single change and making rapid shifts in your training or your nutrition based on some of this stuff that just needs time to work itself out. You can stop fixing things that might not necessarily need fixing. Okay, that's not rigid, that's regulating. And over time, that calm, informed relationship with your body is one of the most powerful things you can do for both your long-term progress and your mental health. Because mental health in the health span game is just as important as physical health. Why do we want to live a really, really long time if we aren't even enjoying it, right? So we need to learn how to interpret our data calmly and not have our data be a cause of stress for us. So we want to reduce stress, increase self-trust, and build these skills to develop and make shifts appropriately in our health and fitness plans moving into the future. Cool. So why context matters sometimes more than effort. We have a few different things of context that I use specifically with some of my clients. Blood markers, they can show you how metabolism and your internal systems are working right now. So you can actually respond to what your body is doing live in the moment. Gut health testing can explain digestion, bloating, energy, inflammation, and your mood even by showing you how well you absorb and regulate nutrients and what those little bacteria in your gut are doing and if they're in a healthy population. Recovery and stress data shows whether your system is adapting or overloaded. This can guide when you should be pushing or when you need to maybe pull back. The best recovery and stress data comes from just getting in tune with yourself and asking yourself, how do I feel today? Right? How did I sleep today? Do I feel rested? How do I feel in training today? Am I exhausted? Do I feel more fatigued than usual? This is an art that some of us have lost. It is like asking ourselves, how are we actually feeling? But this is the best recovery and stress data that we can possibly have once we refine that and are able to hone that in. But we have resorted in this modern age to like using these little devices, right? So it's like, what does my recovery score look like? I think these are really good tools to start relearning how to listen to yourself, be it they're not always correct. So to maybe in the morning, if you have like a poor recovery per your fitness device or your tracking device, you can ask yourself, does that match with what I'm feeling inside? And if the answer is yes, great. But if it's no, congratulations, you are flexing your muscle of actually listening to your own body. Okay. So when you don't have data, every decision can feel emotional. When you do have data, your decisions can become practical. So you're not functioning with your health and wellness choices out of a place of panic, but from a place of being actually in control of your future. Okay. So personalization are going to beat blanket protocols that are good for everybody every single time because we're going to be asking of your body, what is it doing and what does it need in the moment right now? So this also brings us to this little slide right here, which is super fun. Stop outsourcing your health, right? So we kind of talked about that, like functioning from a place of panic and chaos from a place as opposed to a place of leadership. And that's what we'll talk about here is reactivity versus leadership. Leadership isn't doing more, it's deciding better. It doesn't mean that you're doing this alone by any means. It means knowing when and how to use support wisely, But what do these two things look like when it comes to your health? So reactivity can look like chasing experts and gurus and different plans and different rules and following those scripts that you were given, as opposed to looking inside and asking yourself, what do I need for my goals right now, right? Following that noise data and all of these urgent resets. It comes from a place of self-criticism and overcorrection and panic. Whereas approaching your health and your health span from a place of leadership is you actually pulling the data, using it in a mature way to recognize patterns and make informed adjustments. This is coming from a place of calm, of context, and strategy. Data doesn't remove intuition, it actually grounds it. So the leadership question. So write this down too, because these are just like a bunch of questions. You're like having your little like health span notebook or something so that you can answer these over the course of the next week and figure out, what do I need to do in 2026 to continue doing this stuff and to make some really good moves. Okay. So what is this information? Right. So we're going to gather anything that you might have already, blood labs from your doctor. If you have like a scale that like keeps a record of everything, like what do those weekly averages look like? What do I want? So like, what does this information tell me? And is this information asking me to react or to respond? And if you're like, oh, I feel like I want to be reactive to this, then you need to ask yourself one more question deeper and be like, is this a single point, right? So where is that slide? I want to go back to it. Is this a single point data, piece of data, or is this a noise data, right? So you can think about, do I need to react to this and do something about it now? Or do I need to wait and respond? Okay. I know that was kind of complicated, but did that make sense to you? Any of you guys? Are you guys good with that concept of like taking a step back and evaluating, right? And to learn how to do this on your own so that you have agency over your own health. Awesome. Joanna's good. Rachel's good. Thanks for your thumbs up. Appreciate it. If anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll try to get the chat box back up if I need to. I lost it again, believe it or not. All right, so this brings us to, boom, lesson 3. Cool. Build a life your health can sustain. So this is the part that most programs just like out in the wild ignore. And it's why so many perfect plans just fall apart. Because longevity or health span, which we're going to define here in a second, is more than just about your body and what you're doing for exercise and what you're eating, right? I know that a big part of it that we talk about, and when you think about this, and maybe when you signed up for this class, you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to talk about exercise and nutrition. Like Stevie makes videos on exercise and nutrition all the time, right? But it's more, it's so much more than just those two things. And I'm going to tell you why and how they interplay here in a second. But this is a whole person view of you, right? Because you're not just a body. There are more parts of you than just that. This is about your mind and your soul as well. And all of these things need to be working together in order for you to have a sustainable plan for your full whole person health. There's another reason why I couldn't do full-time clinic anymore, because I was just like, man, well, these people are so much more than just their biomarkers. These women are so much more than just all of these things that we're trying to measure. And like, we're missing a big piece of it by separating all of these different types of care into silos, right? Into like, okay, well, you go to the mental person for this and you go to the GI doctor for this, but it's like, what happens when stress is causing your ulcer, right? Like, we need to look at each individual as a whole entity. And I was sick of separating it out because it is not disconnected. So you cannot outtrain a life that drains you. And I think I've made this evident from the very beginning here. If your life requires constant recovery just to function, no training plan can save you, right? We need a plan for not only training, for not only nutrition, but a plan that fits into your life to reduce stress so that you have clarity and vision about your purpose and you have mental resiliency as well as physical resiliency. So health span versus lifespan. I've been talking about health span a lot, right? And this is why alignment actually matters so much more than just survival when it comes to health span. So lifespan is just how long you live. This is just time on the clock. And you're like, cool, I made it to like 105, but the last 15 years I was like in and out of the hospital and I couldn't like get up out of my chair or like I can't breathe on my own. I have oxygen, like whatever that looks like to you, that would be a nightmare, right? This is like most women aren't afraid of like dying of old age. They're actually probably more afraid of living in that like last 10 years, last 10 to 15 years, what is kind of deemed as like the marginal decade, the last 10 years of your life, and not being all the way there, not having that mental clarity, not remembering even your family members' names, or not having the mobility or the functionality to be able to do things that you still are used to love, right? So that's terrifying. So lifespan is just how long you live, no matter the quality of the life. But health span also takes into account how well you are able to live during those years. So health span is about living well for the duration, not just living longer. And these are the things that health span actually includes. And we talked about them on the previous slide. Mind, a steady mind and emotional resilience so you can handle life and still feel joy. And body, strength, energy, mobility so your life stays open and not limited. That's huge. And soul, purpose, connection, alignment so that your health supports a life that actually feels meaningful to you. And it's my personal belief that you need all three of those things to be relatively high on the scale to have true health span and to enjoy that life that you're living for the amount of time that you're going to live it. So, how do we do that? We're going to break this down into mind, body, soul, give you some really quick strategies before we wrap this up, okay? So, training for 80 plus, mind. We're going to break this down into 4 sections in each of the 3. So, mental clarity. Okay. These are really small for me. So, you're going to see me lean in. Confidence in decisions. The action step that you can take to train mental clarity is to reduce your mental noise by, you guessed it, deciding once what matters to me. What am I actually aiming for? What are the things that are important to me in my life? What am I going for? What are my goals here? And then letting everything else be good enough. Right? So it's like, these are the things I'm focusing on right now. And these are the things that are going to take the majority of my time. And everything else is going to be like a second tier. My stepdad once had me like write down everything I needed to do to build this business right when I first started it. And then he had me label them A, B, and C tasks, which was super genius. So he's like, the A ones, you focus all like majority of your time on that. And then if you have time left over, you trickle down to the B and C. So you can do this with your life. And this is going to free up mental space for you too. A, B, and C tasks. Clarity isn't about thinking harder, it's about thinking less often about the wrong things, right? We want to remove that clutter. So, emotional resilience, handling stress without falling apart. How can I train that? Well, practice naming emotions instead of resisting them. A lot of us are like, oh my God, I'm sad. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be sad. You're just like fighting it, fighting it, fighting it. This is stress. This is stressing you out, right? So it's like, looking inside, inquiring about the emotion, like, what is this? Okay. Okay, I'm sad. Okay, I'm sad. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen if I just feel this? Is it's gonna pass. And I think that there's like a statistic about this. If you truly just like let yourself feel this, 90 seconds is how long it can take to just pass through your body and you can observe it leaving. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be sad in waves, right? That's grief. And sometimes that happens too, but just allowing yourself feel it and observe it. Emotions that are acknowledged, like I said, will pass through, and emotions that are avoided will compound. Next one, self-trust. Being calm instead of constantly worrying. So an action of how we can train this is keep promises to yourself that are small and repeatable so that your brain learns that you are reliable, that you can trust yourself. It matters. It matters because self-trust isn't confidence, it's evidence that builds over time, right? So you can't just build self-trust with one choice. It needs to be over and over and over again. And growth mindset, staying engaged as life changes. This is going to replace the what's wrong with me question, or what's changing, to what's changing and what's being asked of me now. So instead of being like, what's wrong with me, you're going to be like, okay, what's different about me right now? And how do I need to adapt for this new phase of my life, right? I'm growing, I'm changing, I'm not the same as I was yesterday. How do I accommodate that? It's curiosity instead of judgment. Women who age well stay curious instead of defensive when life evolves. A healthy mind isn't one that avoids hardship, it's one that leans in and endures it with joy instead of defeat. It knows it is resilient and it does not over identify with external circumstances. It understands that it can change and pivot, and it knows that things are going to be okay, even if they don't stay the same, right? It can be painful, but it knows it's going to get through it and that there's going to be something still good on the other side of that. Okay, now we'll shift into body. So training for the 80 plus body, strength. This is a huge one. This one gets skipped for a lot of women. So action, train compound movements, especially if you're super busy, right? Squats, hinges, pushes, pulls, carries. And we are going to use progressive overload, which means we're going to increase weights or reps every single time we train to give that muscle a little bit more stimulus each time as you're able to, so that it is continuing to grow, right? More knowledge in your brain and it continues to grow, more stress or strain on the muscle and it's going to continue to grow. So we want to do this so that daily tasks as we age never become limitations. For women, this is especially important because we lose our muscle mass so much more quickly than men, especially in our 40s and 50s, once we start going through menopause. So we want to protect that early and often. And it's never too late to start. We can build muscle at any phase in our lives. So why does this matter? Muscle is going to let you live on your own terms and not needing help to do basic life tasks. And it's also going to be your biggest weight management, your biggest long-term weight management strategy, because muscle burns calories even at rest. So the more you have, the higher your resting metabolism is going to be. Energy, participation in life. This is going to be to build an aerobic base, to preserve your muscle mass, and to build an anti-frailty nutrition plan. Oh my gosh, what's that? An anti-frailty nutrition plan? This is something that we have to build over time as we build muscle. And it's going to create a situation where your energy is reliable and not just borrowed from caffeine, adrenaline, or whatever else you use. Some of you out there maybe use Zen. Don't do that. But like, also, I get it. Sometimes I get it. All right. So why does this matter? Because energy determines whether you can show up for your life and be present, or if you have to opt out quietly. And I know some of you feel that on a personal level. I know I have in the past for sure. So sustainability and mobility is the next one. Freedom. This is going to give you freedom. Maintain joint range of motion and stability through controlled strength and balance work and full range of movement. And why does this matter? Because mobility without stability leads to injury, and stability without mobility leads to stiffness and fall risk as we age. And we don't want that. So all of these need to be part of your strategy to train for the 80-year-old body. And the last one is chronic disease mitigation, risk mitigation. So using precision data to identify your highest risk areas and proactively support them with training, nutrition, recovery, and when appropriate, our wonderful medical system, right? Because it is actually good for some things. It is just not good or the best for everything. But in certain cases, we will want to pull that lever, right? So why does this matter? Disease risk isn't equal or random. It is personal. It's personal. It can be due to genetics. So you may have a genetic risk for heart disease more than metabolic disease, right? So the earlier we can know this about you, the faster we can put the stops in place to be able to push it off for as long as possible. And the earlier you understand your own pressure points, the more agency you're going to have to reduce their impact long before symptoms appear or early on in that symptom set. All right. So next, last one, training for 80, soul. So connection, purpose, healing old patterns, and joy are the big four here. So connection, belonging. We want to invest intentionally in relationships where you can be fully yourself and not just useful or impressive. Wow, that's a big one. That's kind of like a heavy hitter right there, right? This matters because as we age, only the humans that age well are in a social context. You are in a socially rich environment. You have relationships that are meaningful. We don't age well in isolation. Belonging protects mental and physical health, and it's super important. So that needs to be on your list, right? Of how am I going to protect my relationships so that I have a rich and genuine life. Purpose, another one that's big, big time. So meaning beyond productivity. Woof, right? Define what you want your health to serve in this season of life, not just what you want it to fix. This is a big one. Like, what's my why? Purpose keeps effort aligned instead of exhausting. Healing old patterns. This one's hard, and a lot of people don't want to do this, but it's super duper important. So identify one inherited or learned life script that no longer fits the life that you want to live and consciously release it. You probably have more than one of these puppies, right? But let's just start with one. I think that's the big takeaway from tonight is let's just start with one thing. So why does this matter? Because unhealed patterns quietly dictate choices long after that thread is gone or is even affecting you anymore. And this can affect your relationships with your own life, with yourself, and with others. So this is my call to you to think about healing your trauma. This is a big deal. Trauma is even implicated in autoimmune disease, right? So people who have a lot of unhealed trauma are exceedingly have a higher likelihood of having or coming down with some sort of autoimmune condition in their lifetime. Joy. This is going to increase engagement with your own life. Practice joy alongside of growth instead of postponing it. So don't postpone your joy until your goals are reached, right? We want these things to live together. People who age well stay emotionally invested in living a life of enjoyment and satisfaction in unison. It's super important. Okay, so you kind of ask yourself the last three questions here. Cool. 3-part life alignment audit. Does your life support your health, or does your health have to survive your life? You can have a great training plan, good data, strong intentions, and still burn out if your life is working against your own body. This is where mind, body, and soul either work together or quietly compete. So for mind, for your resilience, when things get hard, do I have the mental tools, or do I default to self-criticism, overthinking, or push harder? These are like, if it's yes or no. If it's I have a lot of self-criticism. I like overthink things a lot. I push harder through stuff instead of actually figuring out my action steps. And you're like, cool, this is an area that I need to work on, right? So a resilient mind doesn't avoid stress, like I was saying earlier. It knows how to respond to it without spiraling. So that is a big pillar of health span and something to work on in 2026. So body energy. Does the way I move, eat, and recover give me energy, or am I constantly borrowing energy from somewhere else? If your energy only shows up with caffeine, adrenaline, or willpower, that's not capacity, that's compensation. And this might be an area you need to work on in 2026. So, soul identity. Does the way I live actually match the woman I am trying to become or that I want to become? Or have you even thought about the woman you want to become or you're trying to become? If your habits belong to an old version of you, your body is going to feel that conflict, and everything else, body, energy, mind, resilience, is going to be so much harder. Okay. So ask yourself these 3 questions moving into the next period of time, the next year. Wow, that's a lot, Stevie. That's crazy. How do I implement this, right? Lasting change doesn't come from doing more. And I think I've said that over and over again. It comes from choosing what matters most right now and building around that. So this is the exact framework I use with my year-long clients here. Okay. We have step 1. Ask yourself in those 3 categories, those questions that we asked on the previous slide, mind, body, soul. What would most improve my capacity in these areas right now, right? Do I have any friction in each of these areas right now? And am I in alignment, full alignment with my life right now? The rule here is we only want 1 priority per category, because more than that is going to make it so much harder to make any changes. And we're going to do these in 90-day cycles. Okay. So for the first 90 days of 2026, you're going to ask yourself, what's 1 thing I can work on in each of these categories, body, mind, soul? And then you're going to implement with step 2. You're going to ask yourself, what is the smallest change I could repeat consistently for these next 90 days to get to each of those goals, those 1 goals in each of those 3 categories, right? So body, if you're like, hey, I want to build some muscle. So body, lift 2 times a week and walk daily, eat protein at breakfast. Cool. Those 3 things is what I'm going to do for the next 90 days to hit that body goal. Mind, 1 thought reframe per day, 1 boundary set per week, and 1 weekly reflection. It's just something like that that aligns with that goal that you set in that category. And step 3, ask yourself, where does this already fit into my schedule? That's great, right? We want to make it fit into your life. We don't want you fighting your life to make it fit. So what needs to be removed or softened to make space for this thing that is important to me? If a habit requires willpower forever, it is not going to last. So we need to make space for the new thing to breathe, to live, to grow. And step 4, at the end of that 90 days, I want you to ask yourself, what worked? What didn't work? What felt heavy? What felt hard? And what needs to evolve so I can continue to grow as the woman that I want to become? Progress comes from gradual implementation, not drastic change or perfection. All right. So there are 2 ways to apply this, guys, because I know that was a ton of information and it probably was a lot deeper than you were expecting, right? So the first way is the slow path. This is self-directed, thoughtful, valid, but requires a lot more trial and error, right? Because you're on your own trying to implement all of this stuff from these slides. And then there's a fast path. And this is going to provide a little bit more clarity, a little bit more structure, and a lot more support. It's going to have fewer wrong turns, and it's going to remove a lot of that guesswork sooner because you're going to be working in conjunction with somebody who's going to help you out and to lay out these frameworks and help you do this 1 step at a time. You can have a great training plan, good data, and strong intentions, and you can follow this little plan here, but it could be harder if you're doing it on your own. But neither is wrong. They're just different timelines, right? So I'm wondering if it's okay with you guys if I share with you what the fast path might look like. If it's okay with you, just put a little thumbs up in the chat and I'll let you know what that fast path looks like. Aaron. Okay, I've got a couple of thumbs ups. We'll go with 50% here as consent. Rachel's in. Joanna's in. We have a Hundy. I Got it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so the 12-month health span experience, I just built this thing out. I'm super excited about it, you guys. I've had a lot of client feedback, people I've been working with for the past 6 to 12 months. I used to work with people for 6 months at a time, and they just said to me, a few of them said to me, Stevie, I really felt like I needed a year. And I really felt like I needed to give a better container for people to do all of these things that I just talked about. And so I could walk them through this one step at a time and really build something that lasts for them. So this 12-month experience is going to match that long-term horizon we've been talking about all night. It's structured but flexible. It's data informed but not rigid, and integrates mind, body, and soul, not just nutrition and fitness. Because without the mindset work, this stuff fails over and over again. This is the container where the framework becomes your life. Okay. It's not just a program, it's a partnership. This 1 year is structured with personalized training built around strength, mobility, stability, and the capacity to fit it into your real life. Personalized nutrition to support your energy or goals for body composition and long-term health, but not extremes. And precision biometric data. So we're looking at what your body is doing right now and finding all of those stuck points, right? All of those facets of health span that we cover. And then we're going to also do that mind and soul work to build resilience, rewrite outdated patterns, and align your health and the health that you want to have with the life that you want. And to make those stuck points that you have mentally disappear. We're going to break those things. How we're going to apply it is we are going to work in quarterly blocks, like I just told you guys, to do on your own. And we are going to meet each quarter with one-on-one calibration sessions to assess and reassess what's working and not working and make changes. We're going to change and we're going to figure out what needs to evolve to become the woman that you're trying to become with your health and your life. These plans are adjusted as your body, schedule, and stress and goals change, and you're going to learn how to do this on your own so that you can go into the wild in 2027 with just like a bulletproof plan to be able to move into your future. A clear health-bound strategy is going to be what you're getting out of this. And without the guesswork, sustainability of progress instead of repeated restarts over and over every single year, and a body and mind and life that feel more aligned by the end of this year. So we're going to build this intentionally, one quarter at a time. And we actually have one person in here that is starting with me in January. I'm really super duper excited to get started on that with you. You know who you are. But my Christmas gift to everybody in here, okay, is going to be a complimentary 30-minute one-on-one conversation. We're going to look at where you are now and where you want to be. We're going to identify what's holding you back, body, mind, and life structure, and we're going to come up with a strategy for you moving forward. Okay, I want to make sure this call is super valuable for you because I appreciate you so much for staying till the end of this. I hope you guys got a ton out of it. And even if you're catching this replay later, if you got to the end of the replay, then you have also the opportunity to book that free one-on-one call with me to come up with a strategy, a personalized strategy for you. And as a thank you, if you book this call before the end of the year, you're going to get $1,000 coaching credit. It's going to be like your Merry Christmas gift certificate towards that 12-month coaching program. Okay. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And I'm also going to drop the link in the replay email, which all of you are going to get. So let's get the link in the chat for you guys. All right. Was this valuable for you guys? Did you get something out of it? How was it different than what you were expecting? Did I lose you? Oh, there you are. Let's get you guys big here. Boom. All right. What's your does anyone have a big takeaway? I'll unmute. I'll let you guys. Can you guys unmute yourselves? Holistic approach. Yeah. Yes. It's about so much more than just, right? You can't just be a body. You can't just be a mind. You're not just a, so you need all three to be in alignment. I definitely want to take any questions if you guys have questions. Oops, I did have the chat. That's what I was wondering if you guys can unmute yourselves. So there's the link in the chat if you want to book a call. I want to chat with you for like 30 or so minutes and like figure out what you guys got going on. All right. Any questions? Any burning questions? All right. Well, I don't know if you guys can unmute yourselves or not. I'm not sure.
Yep,
Oh,
we can.
you can. Okay, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to do this Zoom. Awesome, you guys. Hey, I know that we went a little bit over, so I'm gonna let you go. You guys know where to find me if you have any questions. If you want to chat, if you want to take advantage of that 30-minute call, book with that link right there. If I close this Zoom before you get to it, just shoot me a message on Instagram, and I am so thankful for you guys coming to this the day after Christmas, that you guys follow me on Instagram and or Facebook. All right. Have such a good day. Go enjoy your families. Merry Christmas.
Thanks,
Bye.
Stevie.